Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this morning's breakfast at Sky. Hi. So today we're hearing from David Crone from the Cerebral Palsy Association of Manitoba. So we'll hear about all the different programs and what they can offer and how you can refer your clients. And we also very recently completed a research project for funding from the Cerebral Palsy Association. So David will talk a little bit about our results, and you can look for our poster up around the center. For the people on the webinar, if you have any questions, just type them into the chat box and I'll ask David, and then there'll be time for questions and discussion from everyone in the room. All right, thank you very much, David.
Well, thank you for getting up and coming in and hearing me chat with you today. I just wanted to thank you all for inviting me and having these chats. It's a wonderful way to connect with the world. So like Jesse said, I'm David Crone. I'm the executive director of the CP Association. I've been on the job for about 7.5 years. I used to be the president of the CP Association in the early 90s. So I've been around for a while. So here's the poster that you all saw. I'm gonna talk about some of the programs that the CP Association does, our Locked Out of Life campaign, and the demographic study, and then answer any questions. So I've kind of left most of the slides brief, so because I like chatting. So our mission statement is to enrich the lives of individuals and families that are affected by cerebral palsy through. Those are some of the things, but it's whatever you ask me when you phone. There's an employee, that's me. I have a half-time person who runs my bike race, and that's it. So we're low on infrastructure and high on trying to get the support out there. We don't do any direct service. I refer people to you guys or anybody else that I know of, and we try to hold people's hands and empower them to be all that they can be. So how did we start? Back in the 50s and the 60s, we were a parent group as part of SMD. In 1974, we incorporated as a nonprofit, and then in 1988, we hired our first. We got a bit of grant money from the Winnipeg Foundation. We hired our first executive director, and in 1989, we started our bike race. So it's what sustains us and gives us our money. So we're just wrapping up this last year's bike race, and we raised $218,000 here in Winnipeg and $52,000 in Brandon. So we do the exact same race a week later in Brandon. So all the money that we raise in Brandon stays in the Westman area. So like I said, that's what sustains us and keeps us going. We don't get any government money. We don't ask for it. That way I can yell and scream at the government because they don't give me any money. So what do we do? Our big thing that we do is, and this is probably what's going to interest all of you, is we give out equipment grants. We try to pay for the stuff that we know the government's never going to pay for. We want to pay for the fun stuff in life, okay? The things that are a little quirky, right? The stuff that just makes the life just a little bit better. That I'm always looking for 10% increments. If I can make somebody's life just 10% better, I've done a good job. And sometimes you hit it out of the park, and sometimes you can't help much, but 10% is our goal. And I know you might be having problems with the DHSU getting stuff funded. We're seeing the same thing. We're getting asked to help pay for things that I think the government should be paying for. You probably think the government should be paying for. I don't want to be their community partner. They never asked me if I wanted to be a community partner, but we are trying to help. So last year we gave out over $100,000 in equipment grants. Our budget for this year is about $65,000 in Winnipeg and about $45,000 in the Brandon area, and we will spend it all. And we've got a kind of a weird year. Our year goes from September 1st to August 31st. Way back in the day when we were setting up, we got a deal on our auditing fees, and that's why we set up our year end at that time. So it is exact opposite of everybody else. So my grants budget for this year is pretty much done. We collect, but we'll approve them. We'll put a hold on them. If they're still needed, we'll release the money in September when it's a new year. We do scholarships for post-secondary education. That is our main focus of our program. Last year we did about $12,000 in post-secondary education. But if you've got a member who wants to take up art class or some other life improvement skill, ask us, because if we have any money left over, we don't mind looking at that either. One of our members loved post-secondary education, wasn't really a goal of his, but he loved to draw. So we signed him up for art classes at the WAG. He loved it. 10 weeks. He went every Tuesday, I think it was. And so we used our scholarship money for that. So we purposely keep our criteria open so that we can say yes to the fun things in life. We have a personal support worker program for adults. So this is one of our more popular programs. We'll help support the individual go out into the community with an aid. We pay up right now. This year it was $350, and it's self-run. They hire their aid, they go do what they want. We just reimburse them. And I send out the letter in September. It is like sells out instantly. So, and it's nice for folks that don't live in Winnipeg, because it's hard providing programming outside of Winnipeg. I do it, but it's hard. This is the one program I can do. They can administer it wherever they are. We have partnerships with the LIFE program to do recreational things, so I don't have to go to all the different things all the evenings. And so we partner also with Bill at SMD, recreation, power wheelchair hockey, bocce, floor curling out in Brandon. We did social nights. So if anybody tells you that they want to do something, let me know and we'll take a look at it and see if we can do it. We do some events just for families to get together and connect. We do a Christmas party. Everybody wins a prize. My living room's full of buckets, full of prizes, okay? Last year we gave out over 90, okay? We do bomber games, gold ice games. We'll probably do something at the zoo this year. Again, just to get out and enjoy the community. Like I said, most of the things I do is information and referral. I just talked to a family member about the Vulnerable Persons Act. Their son was turning 18 in 2 weeks, and the worker finally said, hey, you need to do a VPA, a substitute decision maker. She's going, what's that, right? So it's all explaining exactly all those different transitions in life. I do individual advocacy. Oh my goodness, they're cutting off my funding. I didn't get my funding. Why are they asking me to fill out this form? All those types of questions. And I'm doing that more and more. I never had to do that much. I used to get like maybe 1 or 2 calls a month. Now I'm getting 1 or 2 calls a week. So, and we do systemic change, and that's our Locked Out of Life campaign, and research. So if you guys have any great ideas for research, I've got three projects on the go now. One's just finishing, and we'll probably have another call this spring or over the summer for more research projects. So here are just a couple of I'll just fly through these things. These are just some of the flyers of the different things. We've got like a support group for families and individuals with CP that we've done. We're doing a job search. what does a job search look like? What are the biggest issues? How do you talk about accommodation and those sorts of things? Music therapy out in Brandon. And then of course our bocce for all. So this is kind of a neat one because we kind of resurrected it from the 90s with the Manitoba CP Sports, a Rehab Center for Children's Life Program, ourselves, and SMD. So we've got a partnership going, so it's more sustainable. So the Locked Out of Life campaign. So in 2016, I was approached by Joelle at the Public Interest Law Center. She's a lawyer, and her question was, how many people in Manitoba have cerebral palsy? And I couldn't give her that answer, okay? Because at that point, the government of Manitoba didn't collect that data. I have about 350 active members, but I can't give you an overall gross number. So we chatted about it, and she talked about this human rights complaint that she just filed against the government of Manitoba for lack of services for adults. So you go along as a child and a family, and then all of a sudden you hit 18 or 21, and the services become a lot harder than they used to be. There isn't a center like SSCY, so you can't come and hang out here and get your therapy and play in the pad and do all the fun things that you do. And this is a real gap in service, and that's the human rights complaint. It's the only thing that changed in the, let's use me as an example. In my condition is I had a birthday, and I went from one program into another, and that's really, my needs are the same, everything's the same. So that is the, Amy and Tyson are both members of the CP Association who have been supporting this campaign to get them some services just because they happen to be an adult. They don't qualify for CLDS through no fault of their own. So there is no program even to go to. So yeah, that's the actual status of the case is that we're about halfway through it. We've gone through the initial report saying there is a case of pro facie discrimination that the Human Rights Commission has found. We're going to hearings probably early December, January. We're in the process of looking for good expert witnesses. So if anybody wants to be an expert witness, let me know, because we're looking. So I'm going to just show this video that we did. And thank you. It's good to have technical support.
That falls out of bed, well, I mean, we can help you. In my previous house where I actually did fall out of bed, I was literally stuck on the floor until the morning. It makes you feel locked up, it makes you feel isolated, it makes you feel difficult to sleep. Just imagine you have the crisis going through that. referral we have, ultimately, the more of a difference you can make.
Back to slideshow. It's okay. Oh, yeah, you did show me that button. Okay.
Tiniest little one.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't go to IT school. Okay. So, I mean, that video says a lot, and you guys know it. You've lived it, just like I've lived it. My members have lived it. We're just trying to move the needle, right? And if you don't put the pressure on government to make it equitable, and it's a rights issue, right? It's not about accessibility, or it's my right to be a full participant in the world in Manitoba, just like it is yours. And you need support, you need opportunity. It needs to be based on need and not a birth date or an IQ test. And that's the gist of it. And the government's reply to it, saying it was frivolous and vexatious. I don't even know what vexatious means, but I know it's not good. So check out the lockedoutoflife.ca or .com. We own both of them. It gives updates on the case as well, and things are happening. There is the petition that you can send to there's a draft template letter for to send to your MLA. We are, once there's more highlights in the case and we hit certain milestones, we are going to be rolling out a public campaign too, because you need to have the public pressure along with the court case. So that's been a big focus of the last 18 months or so. This Locked Out of Life campaign, it was the video, and the campaign was, we actually hired an ad agency to do it, because as you can tell, I don't have skill. They're the ones who came up with the whole Locked Out of Life campaign. Originally, I was thinking, we do a little straight biography to camera, and they're the ones who said, well, let's put Tyson in a jail and explain his story and how he's locked out of the life that he wants. Tyson's a very bright young man who wants to work on computers and write code and do sorts of things. He's got low vision. He's in a manual chair with fairly severe CP, but cognitively, he's smarter than most people, right? And, he needs support to go to school and to live an everyday life. So, and Amy, she just wants a more fulfilling future and choices based on her choices, not some 55 hours a week, right? And it allows her family to go out and move on. People transition in life, and we all know it and live it. We got to give folks, whether it's not just cerebral palsy, it's muscular dystrophy, any condition that's out there. It just happens that the two that went to the Public Interest Law Center happened to have cerebral palsy. They called us. So that is, it is one of the one things that I think is a game changer. The video that you saw in the campaign, Uphouse, the ad agency, won 2 national awards for it. So they're very happy with it. We went back and forth on, are we too cutting edge? Are we, putting somebody in a cage is very strong, right? I wanted to make people uncomfortable when I agreed to it. So they won 2 bronze awards, one for the best, so they came in third, one for guerrilla marketing and the other one for just, having a campaign with no resources really. So, and like I said, the update of the actual case, it's ongoing. The thing I just found out the other day is even after the hearings, which will take between, a month and 6 weeks, is we probably won't get an answer for at least a year, which is like, really? It's been since July 2016 already. So hopefully, it'll move the needle. So research. And there's copies of the poster, so take a bunch. We have lots. Hang it up in your homes, in your car windows as you're driving, your offices. Anybody on the webinar, if they want a copy, just contact me and I'll mail one out to you. So this started way back in the day when Joelle from PILC said, well, how many people in Manitoba have cerebral palsy? And I couldn't answer. And so we chatted with Rehab Center for Children, and we said, okay, can you do a chart review on how many folks and where do they live in Manitoba? We don't know, right? So we had 679 members of the CPS that have the diagnosis of cerebral palsy. Probably not as many as should be, statistically speaking. I think they weren't capturing those really mild cases. I know I probably would see you guys once. By the way, I am a graduate of the Rehab Center for Children. I was way back when it was Shriners. I had Mrs. Von Kampen for 16 years, was my therapist. I went every Wednesday. And when she took holidays, I took holidays. Her therapy goals were my therapy goals. I can still lying on the vinyl mat counting the holes in the ceiling, and she did this and this and this but so that's really what we wanted to know. So at least we have a base number, and we know going forward that we know where folks live. I was surprised at how many. I have no members north of Swan River. Okay, so if you guys are traveling out into the wilds of Manitoba, take my card, give them to them, because I am here to help. I want to help. I just can't phone up every health region and say, hey, send me a list of everybody that has CP on your database, because I'd love it, right? And to be honest, most of my members are adults, okay? The Rehab Center is doing a really good job at taking care of their needs as kids, having the life program and all the different things that you guys do. That's fine. I'll take them when they hit 18. I'll move forward with it. But, when I started this job 7 years ago, I had 12 members under the age of 12. Okay, I think I'm up to about 60 now. I'm not getting kids. That's fine. Just let the parents know that I'm here. So when they do need you, I'm here. So that's the demographic study, and we can ask questions later, and you guys know what a gross motor function chart is and all those fun things, so I don't need to go into that. The other research project that we're funding that's still ongoing, and I know Jackie is still looking for a couple people. What does a good transition look like? What pieces do you need to have when you're going from the youth project into adulthood? So if you have somebody that you think has had a good outcome or is got really good supports, let me know and I'll pass the information along. And then we've got another one which is ongoing, and Dr. Sternum, I think that's how I Stern. Okay, Stern. Okay, I always have a problem with his last name, those Z's and things. He's looking at using computerized gaming for fine motor skills, for lack of a better transition, and he's still recruiting too, and he's looking at young kids. So, and recruitment, as you know, is the hardest thing. So again, anytime, and if anybody has a good thought, ooh, I should study this, let me know. Because I think 2 years ago, we've spent about $46,000 on research. So we can give me a great idea. I'll find you the money. Okay. There you go. It's a real team. So thank you all. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Yep.
So you mentioned you guys have like support groups and that. I'm assuming those are in Winnipeg.
Right.
Do you have opportunities to connect families who live remotely with other families like children with CP?
Okay, so the question is, do I have opportunities for folks outside of the perimeter highway to connect? I don't have anything formally, but I will certainly try, and I'm not opposed to starting something. Okay, I do have a very solid group out in Brandon, the Westman area, and every 2 years we do a family retreat, and we like rent out the Clarion, we provide food, speakers, and that sort of thing. It's October 5th, if anybody is listening. And so, yeah, have them call me. If I probably don't, but I don't mind starting. Okay.
In the communities that I move to, the kids that I work with who have CP, like they're the only ones in their community, so the families don't have anyone to relate to connect on that level with. So even just like a name that they could talk to another mom who's got similar needs to theirs, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so the question is, how do I connect my families with CP? And I have a good relationship with the Muscular Dystrophy Society. And so, you know, it's same needs, but different diagnosis. I tell my board, you know, Bocce and my support things that I'm doing, that everybody who shows up has CP. Not all people show up have CP, right? I just tell my board that, but don't tell them because they think it's 100% cerebral palsy. So yeah, have them connect with me. And if nothing else, I have a fairly strong group on Facebook, and you know, technology is a wonderful thing. So I'll find them somebody, okay? Because I have a research study person who's done the research. So any other questions? Yep.
That was going to be my question. Is I know the mothers of young children with Down syndrome have a Facebook group that they connect on. And I was going to ask if there's a similar grouping of younger mothers with CP.
So the question is there a young mothers group with CP connected on Facebook? So my mothers group that I have, all their kids are about 35 now. Because they started 35 years ago, and that's when they connected, and they're still connected. We do have a fairly strong, like I said, Facebook group. I don't mind starting something and putting those pieces together. So, yep.
And I did say mothers, but I should say
parents. Yes, that's true. Yes. So parents, caregivers, uncles, just people who want to support folks. Yeah. 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 No, because shared knowledge, I don't know half of what I need to know or a third of what I need to know, and connecting parents with each other so that they can network and say, you know, just in brief conversations, oh, I got this covered. Oh, I got this covered. Or how did you get that? Or, you know, just, you know, exactly. Right. And how do you problem solve around those everyday little tasks? Because as you all know, cerebral palsy is such a wide spectrum of condition, whether from very mild to very complex needs. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So, yep.
Do you have like somewhat regular communication with Manitoba Health? Like, how's your relationship with them in terms of like advocating for funding?
I don't really. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, what is my relationship with Manitoba Health and funding? So, I don't really have a relationship with them per se, because I leave the actual. I give the parents the tools to advocate on their behalf, and I connect them with other folks that have far more skill than I do. But Here's my advocacy 101. It's never real unless it's in writing. They can tell you anything over the phone, doesn't matter. 2, ask for it in writing. 3, tell them that you plan to appeal it. Because I think they're denying everything right off the bat just because they know that 50% aren't going to appeal. So right now, so appeal everything. Also know you got to kind of pick your battles and know what hill you're going to die on. So that's part of the thing. So, have them call me. I'll give them my words of wisdom, and I'll help them connect with other organizations out there that do a far better job than I do. Yep.
What are the next steps? I don't know anything about a court case and a challenge.
Okay. Okay, so the question is with the Locked Out of Life campaign, what are the next steps and what does it all mean? So I didn't know much about the human rights system either. So you have a complaint, you put it into the Human Rights Commission. They do a very cursory look and say, okay, make a few phone calls, say, hey, there is something here. You do a more formal complaint. They interview people. They say, okay, there's enough here to go forward. They assign an investigator who spends 6 to 8 months investigating the case. They write a very detailed report, make a recommendation whether it should go forward to the Human Rights Commission or whether, if there is no real merit to it. Then you have then the Human Rights Commission assigns a mediator and says, can both parties, talk it out and work out the details. And then if that fails, you go to hearings. Then a year later, the Human Rights Commission does make a binding case against the government. If, let's assume we win, they say, here is our ruling. This is there is a case against discrimination. The kicker is the government can take it to the Court of Queen's Bench. They can appeal it to the next level. I suspect we're going to court. I told Joelle that I'll go all the way to the Supreme Court because I like Ottawa. So that's my case. So those are the steps. We're about halfway through the steps right now. So, yep.
And so is the complaint based on because adults with CP often don't meet the cognitive criteria to be part of community living, like to get that funding, or is it just that when you move from the pediatric system to the adult system, you're cut off of so many things?
Right. It's the latter. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Good thing Jesse's here. It's okay. So the question is, what is the basis of the human rights complaint? Is it they don't qualify for CLDS, or is it that they don't have the programming going forward that they had as a child? And it's the latter. It's really a lack of rights. It's a human rights case. I thought, like yourself, it was, they just need to open up the criteria for CLDS and everybody's happy. But that's not really the point. It's my right to access services. And the only thing that changed between my journey from birth to death is an arbitrary birthday along the way. And somewhere along the line, they decided either at 18 or 21, you're moving from one program to another. So the programs have to be equal. If I got all these services as a child, I should get them as an adult. It should be based on need and not a birthday. So, cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, David, for coming. We learned a lot about all the different programs and what you can offer. And one of the things we learned is if you have an idea for a program or families maybe want something, just ask David and he'll see what he can do. So
that's how all of our programs started.
Yeah.
You know, parent asked for it. So
yeah, which I think is a great way. Oh, good idea. Then just ask David.
Yeah.
So I'll post the recording of David's webinar on our website so you could watch it again or share it with someone who missed it. I'll also post the Locked Out of Life website and the videos so you can share that as well. I'll also post the research poster that David talked about on the website so then anyone can look at it there. So next month in June, we'll be hearing from Dr. Jeanette Hayward and Dr. Kyle Miller about complex care in Manitoba. So hopefully you'll see everyone again next month. And thank you very much. Thanks, David.